So good evening to everybody who has come here tonight. I wish you all a warm welcome, and it's very much a privilege to welcome Khenpo Sodaji here to Oxford to give a lecture to us this evening. My name is Catherine Hardy. I'm a DPhil student at the Institute of Social and Cultural Anthropology here at Oxford, and it's in the course of my DPhil research, actually, that I got to know Khenpo Sodaji. So I really feel it's a great honor to have him here on Oxford turf and to share in this opportunity. So Khenpo Sodaji, many of you may be very familiar with his background, and some of you might not know so much. It's certainly no exaggeration to say that he is really one of the most influential Tibetan Buddhist teachers in mainland China today. So Khenpo Sodaji's role at Larongga from quite early was as a translator of Chinese for the founding Lama of Larongga, Khenpo Jimi Phuntsok. And his role really grew from there. Over the past 10 or 20 years, he's been the director of the Department for the Teaching of Buddhism to Chinese students at Larongga. And over this time, a total of 31 Khenpo, or fully qualified scholarly Chinese monks and nuns, have graduated from Larongga and proving to be very significant in the spread of Tibetan Buddhist teachings in mainland China. But it's not just in terms of his teachings and efforts at Larongga that he's well known in China. Over the last 10 years in particular, he's expended a great deal of effort and has been very influential in terms of his efforts to bring Tibetan Buddhist teachings to lay audiences in mainland China. And he has done this through the publication of many books, the publication of DVDs, and in general adopting a genre of teaching that brings the teachings or enables the teachings to address the real-life situations of many students. His outreach activities have involved university visits, both in mainland China. He has visited some of the most prestigious and well-known universities. He's really made great efforts to interact with young people. And over the last couple of years, has also had chances to travel overseas and interact with Western audiences as well. He has notably been at the vanguard of utilizing modern technologies such as the internet and social media, etc., to bring Tibetan Buddhist teachings to a wider audience. So Khenpo Sodaji is, there's no argument, he is a very pivotal figure in the contemporary Buddhist scene in mainland China and beyond. He's a bridge between culture, and it's a great honor to welcome him here this evening. And if you could all join me in giving him a clap and welcome him tonight.
Lopchandani Girgundang, Loma, Tani Zamba, Kebatsu Tamchilla, Natsu Wopaga Churtata, Tani Tomer Trashi de Loxichin.
I would like to say Tashidelek, an auspicious greeting, extend an auspicious greeting to all of you, to the professors, to the students, and to the other guests who have gathered at this university.
Tani Tamchilla, Ndertavi, Pansan Kacha, Roland, Flojon Shiju, Korkubshon Ala, Ningunina, Korkum the Tamzan, Shijitana, Tani Tsamala Gajan Chejivayan.
And I would like to seize this opportunity to have a discussion, to have a conversation, and to exchange your opinions. And I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity.
Tatirang zo nge shachida matsega pusam devjanda matsega girim ga chotana tar gajir ga tani myongchur dan da zo dagam chanzam zu shotseg yak de ni na 단 디스당아 런거 지금 냠뇽담저니 난자가 근데 런거 뭐체가 고스토다 제라가 더니 같이 용어 케르나발라 시킨
Today, I have been asked to speak about ideals in my life, objectives in my life, and the process, my own experience, private experience, the process that I have been through, experiential process that I've been through, and also my experience of translation. And I will be speaking briefly on these themes.
ngalam sonna dan jiktendi kamsa gongne tani parchir lor ngapchi nangzare ta lor ngapchi nanga tani ji zambu langa netsir cheche chongchong tamchi bo ji ngerwar tyachimbo zu shongre tani ji ta lor geba dan dimo tsurtawi ngala ji nyamnyong dana the nyongchur 대 잠스기오는 말이다. 옛날양 회나 ರಂಗ ಮತ್ಸೆಲಾರ್ 지천다나 로르기라다 리시르티 쉬지잔즈기네나 데네지 ರಂಗ ಮತ್세다 다리 돈좀 바가 송아스타들이 지 당아츠 코리 제르코난 자가 나츠 더건 살롱 쇼이 납슈가 더 네츠강당 강상노당나야 디 머센데라 지 잠올은 그 여도 모즈도 통근도 용덕 디모가 먹으즈레
I was born into this world 50 years ago, so I have been here for 50 years. And during this time, lots of both minor and major transformations has taken place in the world. I can't say that I have the experience of a very old person, but over the years, I have accumulated my own experience, and when I look back at my life, I can see that the environment I was born and brought up in, and the world, I look at the world, and wherever I look, there has been dramatic transformations. And as Kadhadila said, that I was born at a time that there was a dramatic changes taking place, both before I was born and after I was born.
당아이나 다 담보 직된 감스 기회는 이렇게 치모즈레제나 나츠 코릭데라 더 아마츠 주저제이다는 더건지 로 지그다 아니가 와르더 무임 첨보즈 숑에다는 뭐 치망보즈도 드네 다리가 시오너리 다 띠갑고 지그 회나 나츠 년코르 작업 상노당네나 지금 시발 계기다나 디모그 진차 총리 그거 띠 캬버잔즈 숑뇽제 다 띠지스 그거 니르동 지그 직체 레니로 드네 다 계기가 띠소도 지금 띠소 하장 교보 데네 르네 그 타드니나 하장 교보 코리 그 타드니나 지금 자마 르고나 까모 데네 지금 쇼강트 그 락소 제르고나 델레장 지금 파르치와 메파르타베 치요니 디럽 디모즈가 그 지텐 감스고너레
I came into this perishable world at a time there was dramatic campaigns and movements going on. For instance, at that time, the democratic reform was taking place, and also it's during this time, about two or 3 years, there was famine, there was large-scale death, and also there was a cessation of birth rates. During that time, there very few people were being born. And so I was born in 1962, around this time, and this was a very hard time in terms of living standards and in terms of also receiving education. It was quite a challenging, grim time that I was born. I came into this world.
지망아 총총인데 야라. 드니 파르치를 롭 지지기 야르면서 간세 드니 이게 돈기 고급 용용 말에 그 파르치아도 그다 르조 종수이 다 디어니급나 지 코리 처절건로 다 지금 회나 레즈 뇨르건이나 레이그즈 이다나 이게 다른 전쇼즈가 되는 뇨르고 막독제면은 강무 지금 요지 머레티는다 데네 다리가 자만 뇨르건에 회남 제이나 네이나 강로 뇨르건이나 레이그즈 이다나 그 다연 전쇼즈 니레레전다 회남 니레 자르야마이나 자이그즈에서 뇨티온제 지금 다 디모가 데네 고제이나라는 지금 뭐 상마가 지금 직결이요 차가 직결이오늘 배낭 나초이나 데네 다 겸손나 데네 파르치어 쓰하 권이다나 다 야지 차가가 쓰하 권이 디모 그다 조 권합시다나 뛰어내급나 플로종 지기 하이기 고급 메찬을 디모진
until so I was born in 1962 and until I became 16 years old I had been a herder. I have been herding animals, and we at that time did not have educational opportunities, and most of the time spent herding animals, herding yaks. And that time life was hard, and it was very difficult to acquire clothing or food. Or if you want to buy any material, you need to buy this using coupons. It's a coupon system. And also people, in terms of clothing, most of people are wearing the same clothes, quite uniform. In my case, in my case and my community, most of people were wearing sheepskin tubas.
다티 이렇게서 또 나이나 다 냥탁브라 젠더 지가 요너레 데인디 니 푸섬도 치레잖아 다 남지가 내급나 야라지 니 치오레 티다 조 토모즈 니 르록나 또 아카롱저즈 이다니가 또 조가 소르경 야하이나 또 샹경 야하이나 티모즈요 다니 또 다리가 마체가 뭐게르제르고나 회스타트인 니 파말라 진더 젬용아 또가 남지가 내급나다 아클롱저 타바다리가 르조야 하즈가 또가 니르티오 드레바인제 회나기 파마인나자가니 다 칸이치가 언제 또 마임바가 또가 라목스몬제 다코 참마야나 또금 저기 겸서 저거 막도 되면 이게 랑가 마양 다리가 저 시나마레 다 다르다양 때레
At that time as I was being a herder at that time, the ideal, the objective of my life was to become a great, fine herder. And I told my parents, I told my sisters and my relatives that what a great herder I wanted to be. I also, especially at that time, my model was what I call my uncle Longdul. He was a great herder. He looked after his animals very well with the care and with the compassion. So I wanted to emulate him. At that time, we didn't have any opportunity to learn to read or write or anything. So that is my ideal was to become this perfect herder, and I told my parents that.
달 지마 롭 지지게 디서 드네 지 띠왕즈거 다 롭총 나나 드네 다 롬장 다 대소 점기 야라 이게 돈너레 다 이게 돈게다야 시르던가 땅성가 왕도시에나 다리 로르기 로인가 디츠 로르그 잠즈겐데 롭총 로지그다 롬장 록슴 데모즈고 요레 인나양이 파르치르 다리 로 릉아 잠즈 막도게 지금 돈기 거그 이화즈 다리게 요노마리
So then at 16, when I was 16 years old, I went to school. I went to a primary school and secondary school, and this was, by today's standard, this is the 9-year compulsory study. This would have taken 9 years. 6 years of junior school and 3 years of secondary school. But I finished it, had the chance, I had to finish it within 5 years.
다 띠감나 케르나베 양권에 당 저기 냠레 칸서 이다나 다가 다 거나 족 냠소 시기다나 대비전다는 지 얼러 냠는 쉐지 근데 고시암 냠도 쉐지 다 디모근 소알람 냠도 롱쇼네 로 몽보즈간 거송으로 따더니 지 회낭아 안드진정나 족다 섬자야르면 다리 종초이다는 디 겸상근나나 연제 근데 다 롭자는 게 영어 지금 롭자 이화즈기 돈는 말에 다 지금 인지 있게 다는 대비전다는 다나 워기 있게 영 롭층 거 대표가나 메톡나다 다 디모즈가 책원제 때인데 지금 로종 여보스다네 연 말에 디 딱버리 연다나다 지금 롭마 판상가 bar da me yetena da television da na ji radang manja ba yi da lojon yo hawi ji korku yo haz da reson mare yena ngi lopchan ro sa ga zir da na da mambaz ga ngi nirang ga akam thalo ze yizo da ngi ti lopchong da lomjang dom bi ner kamna ngi püksum zergo na mger da mamba ya haz da worben ya haz da yona samgyo tayen tendi ngi jimar jikcho bi ner kamna jig mamchon na gajere da ngara mambaz yong sona ma to zemettabe chi shion la tene da na zamazg da ragdi mare samgyo ngi tari samsir tayen
then I don't know if I'm sure many of you are not familiar with the sort of lifestyle during that time. During that time, at that period, we lived in communes and shared things through collectives. So we looked after animals collectively. We shared our products or dairy products, everything in a collective way. And that's how I spent for several years in this commune system. And then when I went to school, it's not like today's schools. We really didn't have any good sort of educational standards. I didn't, of course, get the chance to study English or study even Tibetan in my school. So we didn't get a really proper, good standard of education at that time. So we were mostly after mischievous conducts, things. But at that time, when I was going to the junior school and middle school, we had, next to the school, there was a relative of mine who is a Tibetan doctor, a doctor of Tibetan medicine, who practiced Tibetan medicine. And at that time, my ideal was to become a Tibetan doctor like him. So that was what I wanted to emulate. In case, I thought, in case I failed my exams, I thought that's what I was going to do.
That's 신랑이 내 상록당나 그러나 나라 상록당나 지 총총한 디가 푸슴 대전다는 지다 렌던 티모고 지 야 첨보다나 땅 잡보양치한 연 말에 드는 코리익다나 그 슬랍소 대전다는 지 파마다 길근 라소비 랑가 마오에 그 갑쇼즈르고나 자가티 무쇼도 또 열근득다고 또 랑가 마체라 상록당에 치론디 다 덴자즈 그 송요고
So at that time, I didn't have any big ideals or objectives in my life, but this was how my ideals and my aims in life were determined by my own environment and by my sort of parental upbringings, and that's what it was like at that time.
다 롬정거 그 롬구 돈디다 tani jimam nyamle khangze gand gyonda nyamda tani choala longsu shu kipchen songde mar mepa ga songwe tana taga shigzo yena taga chama gir soso chadena parchir tariga tan shokr yarkub kun chowa dana njam song ren zhe de ger songje tani nga mamba zoji ma song tani jima tari gegor lopcha se ngchu sa chaga tariga ta lopcha taga 그지즈 기야르지 토세나라 디모즈가 지금초 zonje tani 다티 롭자 너데 지금초티 그 마오네 급나 참마다리 롭총 그 길긴 시주 다리 그 소총 시차레 디네 급나 당에 로니 섬즈가랑아 그 쪼도 그 길근 그다 마오와나 길근 화즈 용고지레섬 다 디네 급나 알아 하장 여문 조사 길근즈가 tani 게 도르지즈게 tani 젠더 당 수제나 팔랑고자제네 티모콘드다가 가포 로 섬칠하까랑아 그 길근 샤발레니 할르티다리 뭐 수암거 시가야하 시릭 장그 티모즈요 다 nga lopchan dina thonde girgin shir gonre ngi maawam dalam da matsex chigda ta girgin ya khaz she samju ngi ya phusam de tari girgin she ju rermon tonzo.
Then came the period that we saw the collapse of commune system, the end of collectivization at that time, and the introduction of private household system, the privatization of animals. And then it's during that time, I passed an exam to a teacher training school, which is regarded as one of the best schools, best sort of colleges at the time. And I passed the exam into that, went to this teacher training school, and there we had a teacher called Sir Dorje, who had the experience of teaching for about 20 years, and he was an amazingly good-natured and kind-hearted teacher, an incredible teacher. And then the ideal of my life then became to be able to be a teacher like him in the future, and to be able to teach and communicate, convey knowledge like this great teacher, and that he became my model at the time.
Tarkaptena de janap shushuk sur gom che jichchi chi ngamale chongzut ke yangwa ta timoz de shongje ta tirkaps de ta woyer kur gomba soso lopcha soso yang ngonda manjawa ge yar charso sheki korku shong tani ta serta ga tangsang larong garze ki unda yangna chi ge gyach tambaluni 다가 sarkotariga tapsignere tinerkabna momozgo marta yenaya agjetene tari jagyonre ngachegi hlopchan dong yotsi tari kamzege hlopchaze gi tin samga kamzer gombate yang ta ngatsu hlopmak sarati ge hlopchad shirna tari tishyawo hlopchazre ta tinanga thondi 다가 곰바다 խсард яра 양장 чог주고 чом전 토웨다더니 곰바가 망직 sar근즉 사원데 nga다 다니 hlopchog devjin dingi gergin gari daga tin samatariga songwedana daga lerkalemyo.
This was a time during a period which was sort of a period of liberalization. The liberalizing policies were introduced, being implemented, and this is opening to outside policy was being implemented. And it is at this time there was the restoration and revival of Tibetan schools, and monasteries were also taking place. And we also took, at this moment, we also had the opportunity to, again, to sort of to start Larongar in 1980, and also Kanzi Monastery at that time, one of the monasteries there, which was also restored during this time. At this time, the teacher training school, teacher training college, many of us students in this teacher training college were involved in the restoration of these monastic institutions. And at Larongar was a new institution, and there were only few of us to begin with in 1980. Very few of us.
Shana nga chongchonginde ne tani chazo chitela muba chaun yokendo. Tani ta ti nerkamna chi gomba soso kyaso shi kitana. Ngasu gergen garega yang chi khoirna Larongar la so bi yondon jodi chirondi. Ta yinching me kenge marcha gergen do zorga tani chazo nar gajiri same yang ni semla da ringer dokchembo zo shongso.
And then generally speaking, as a child, I did have the intention, or I did have the wish to become a monk as a child. But as the restoration of monastic institutions, revival of Tibetan monastic institutions were taking place, and as I went to the teacher training school, then it came to me, the thought came to me that it became actually better to be a monastic teacher than a lay teacher. And then that inspiration, that kind of intention came to me.
Inang imatsega ta khwerna lamgo jimdor taba zaka tane je mawa martya girgen shiner ga ta cha zonar ga samni to toba dan devjin dana 지 강을 모스가 되게 되네 지마다리가 다 달로 그 공발 쪽송아 그 간보 대바지기 어디 다 저런 거 자시 삼내 남 요아 자시 정나가래 공거다림 간보 지금 번송무시네 때라 ngot쇼 용제 되닝이 측직되냐니다 그거 다르가라송에 자와이다나 다 달로니 지금 야차 야르가로 그 자와존제더니 다바르도 그 로섬저담바나 갈뜨가 다단지
And at that time, I came to a crossing, a junction, sort of a crossing point in my life where I was in serious doubt. I didn't know which would be better, to be a monk or to be a lay teacher. And I was in two minds about this at the time. And then at this time there was a Kambo called Kambo Deba who passed away this year, and he advised me to be a monk as soon as possible if that's what I wanted. He said you shouldn't dither about, you should become a monk as soon as possible, and he introduced me Kambo Yimi Pansola.
다더니 네 라롱 간데 있나 통물 차르킹 하장 득사래 더니 회나 올록 다리가 때 올록중양요는 말에 점저 그 다리가 랑코르가 라미양요는 말에 대전도 지금 자마다는 니모초 있나요 파르치르 다리 실리 니시야르면서 그 산츠마 송에다는 또 랑가 뉴이 크로크리 야라용 옛날에는 때따위 또르키아 고셔르근 안서고난다 흑가식근 코리그 쳤더나 당아른 거 선노다나 슬로준 거 거고 할르게 다리 약보즈도 다 자윈 코리그는 드네 다리 배 만자바가 지금 런거 못세라 하장 지득단 비 지진요 차가 드네 슬로준 거 거고 쇼송
At this time, during this time, Larongar was really, in terms of material facilities, it was in a very, very poor condition. There were no electricity, no proper transportation. Even if you have food provision, one needs to carry the load on foot for about 20 kilometers. I had to walk like that. So we really didn't have, in terms of material facilities, there was a total lack of it. However, in terms of as an environment, a conducive environment for learning, for studying Dharma, for learning, it was beautiful. It was, I regard it as, it was one of the most conducive environments that I had.
당아인나 당상 네 야르크자레다 중키른가레 야르큼가레다 중키른가레 송에 드네 지 음지득 담비스탄모 모즈금 통고요 옛나양 네텔라 지그 셈라 하장 식진 쳔보다나 대진의 여라미피 르모 증결금은데 네다 로총은 내급나 지그 갑신 바르츠르그 디그리가 슬로종시 기원도 지그 남양의 런거 마체가나 치 챵든 박비 몬츠르비 그 여름스가 그 고알랭기요.
So now I get the opportunity to visit some beautiful part of the world, and I get to come across some amazing, wonderful sights. However, I don't find them that enduring. For me, one of the most enduring and most unforgettable experiences is that when I had the opportunity to study under really hard conditions, and that stays with me, and that I find it most enduring in my life, and I regard that as one of the most positive things in my life.
다 당상에나 양 지금 나인나 샤와 지금 라다만자 모 제라 체원을 연래 디네 급나 통미 파르치 롭지 야르머즈가 지금 회나 늪디 마라냐 디스케럽다리 마식지다나 대전도나 지금 늪팀 산모인 나라나 다 쳤었다리 그 섬 지 디모리 막도다리 먹니데 다 연칭민칭메 그 지금 나왔던 그 르그네다나 대전도나 지금 십샤 요도 담치다 그런 그 요급도네 그 존집시 기다려 로종 거다 디모 고급스 쇼뇽아
Now in my own case, nowadays I tend to be very busy in terms of daily undertakings. I get very, very busy. But I had about 10 years, at least about 10 years opportunity where I got the chance to study very hard. And at that time, for instance, I would leave, for instance, go to bed without even untying my sash. And we would stay up till 3 or 4 a.m. studying Buddhist philosophy and studying different fields, different sciences of Tibetan knowledge. And that was a very special time.
지마 그 간본 증명 분소 야나 로르증아 쇼네더니 지 응응원이 나 지금 최고 가결다 도마를 여화신 말다 이나야 다 간본 가래다는 게 조가 양 가결 근고는 종 근데 도민을 금나 다 지 오게 나왔던 그 출링도 소 파라 스캇 갔던 거네는 그 추측 없이었죠 회나 야나간 손었다나 나추대 요요너다 이나야 르추르 그 로중 거라진 잔즈다 투숨 공숨 거라진 잔즈 당가야나 지 야침부즈 니르토요 말에 데니 키론디 지금 아츠 토미 다리 오저 나왔던 거다데 추은 낭돈데 람지 그다 야나크 머티아다는 곰바 데라소 비타리가 촉스 그 제라시온제
Then Kambo Jime Punso visited Wutheichan, the five-peaked holy mountain in China, and we had then I myself, along with some other Kambos, had to translate his teachings. At the time, we really didn't get to translate well, but that's where we started translating Tibetan Buddhist teachings. Firstly, we were translating orally, mostly through oral transmission. And of course, China itself has Buddhism, has a Buddhist tradition. But we were translating Buddhist teachings that were aimed to the laity, and of course as well as the clergy, and mostly focusing on contemplation and on sort of studying and listening to the Dharma, contemplation, and on meditation, so reflection and meditation, and on all these aspects we were translating to the Chinese laity.
다드니 닝운이나 가르시온르즈나 쪼더 드니 지 스케줄다나 그 추천 차티니가 니 못세가 나 잠바가 지 좀바 모다 샤와 모 어머기를 모 용아송 드니 존테 쪼더 드니 슬롭치시죠 로츠시죠. 드니 쪼더 가지르시죠. 드니까연. 다 가지르시죠. 원도시나 드니 니테나 다 가지르즈 영도께도 하장 가르치워리. 또 가지르도 영나 다지 익토나 도도 단단 거 차당 담바즈도 조特지잔지는데 머르거 저하스래. 회나 당상 잠볼은 그 야급 소소가 르는데 판슨 jet고네나 조 이톡 같은 거 같이 가지르 그 람라테니 바로 그 흥운통 그 싸움로데 yap보스도 고시 고탑제다 시탑제도 송아가 대신도는 그 나수 출르거 왕도 신이나 양 추강롱즈다 드니 짐직 바 쟁거 데라 코스토 양다 보즈 쇼고네나 양티 난둔다 yap보스 고요 데라라야가 드인이나 그 나수 머르그 찰립 가르바던 야크그 찰립 가르바 tir goji chanzi na ta ngibir de yang paru tariga ti yike ga lam ga yang ta baz de ta pir thap jo kar che was ko songa ga
amongst my own duties, my principal duties, the one what I regard as my key tasks are teaching and translation. These are what I regard as the most important tasks in my life. And when it comes to the translation, I regard that it is very important to leave a translation, a written translation mark in a foreign language. If this is translation through translation, I understand translation as a very important medium of communication through between different cultures and different nationalities. Even in terms of world cultural exchanges, we must do so through translation. Likewise, when it comes to religious understanding, to the understanding of Dharma, to the true essence, to conveying the true meaning of Dharma, I understand that it's very important to translate correctly and clearly. And I think also to be able to convey and teach Dharma that transcends national boundaries or national cultures, then one needs to be able to implant these messages in that nation or in that culture's language. So this is why I regard translation very important.
네, 닝은이 스카줄나 다 이게 같은 거 저기온데라 디초 치망보즈 당는 다 파르치르 드네 다 시주그니 급나지 그 스카줄 그 이게 람거다리 네 이게 저기다나 대전도 나른 거저 곰제르고난자가 저 냠렌제르고나 때잠스 막독제면은 회나 담닐로 종아야르면서 선조거니 드네 잠발아지 회나 당선가 카버다나 대전도나 다지 잠발아 팅저시게 디모 메빠가 회나 가랑나요티 담자적부 담잡단모종에다나 다 퍼치밀로 니신르즈 가랑아 드네 이거 지금 망잠스 다리가 시요.
So I pay specific attention to the written translation. I regard it one of the most significant things, duties of my life. And as such, that I spend most of the evenings I dedicated towards translation and towards my own dharmic practice, like meditative practices. So mostly, all my evenings are dedicated towards these two activities. In the activity, I have taken a private pledge not to be distracted by other activities. For instance, I would not spend time contacting other people or contacting other people on mobile phones or anything of that kind. But for 15 years now, at least about 15 years, every evening I have dedicated to these two activities, especially written translation.
Testavi, Gajir Yigirshiki, Nala Gershik, Gonanjaga, Nipa Testavando, and Namangatsu, Wayergo, Keba Ginin Chumperzi, the Pemajam Kebachimbre. The Congo songs Ganana Chezakazena, Mungu Churgir da Loza, Tamchik of Gajana, Togungatsu, Da, Dan Trujima Chonchons, the Gastanga. Tani do shungakse ta ta sanji ge chu khasan de ju hwerna tari ge tamba gyata je get timo yonje to so changma dana staff chi da sta chog yon de de ngunji loza ba tamche ge kwajanje ta te sonje di tsig de tsig nyong nyong zre da yin yang ngi thongmi ne kep ge dare ige ge ta te skajirshi chirong danan de shi yon de la ngarshik zer ko na ja ni hajan chimbo tonyo Chirizenena, ni Murgandana, Tejandana, Janga Samlos Gorgonina, Tangi Berjangiana, Yiki Lamka Korko Martozem, Yiki Lamka Makona, Tir Jambaskataka, Taranker Kachas Shadner, and Tezams, Kasna Deranga Matamchik, Haruru Samnota, Demato, the Yelanjagona, Hachan, Tariger, Kevin Sikiro Padre.
My motivation, one of the my sort of inspiration to translate came through the great scholar Gendren Chumpyo. He said something very brief, and this statement really sort of gave me the motivation to translate, to undertake translations, written translations. And he said somewhere that because of the great efforts and diligence of great Tibetan translators, the great Tibetan translators and masters, because of them, a Tibetan practitioner can get to learn and study and immerse in the scriptures of Sutra and Tantra on just a single mat, in a single sitting. And he said, he made a remark like that, and that remark became a motivation for me to undertake translation. I think this is definitely vital. Without translation, without the medium and the sort of mediation, this medium of translation, I think it's very difficult to communicate with other cultures and to import with other also cultural knowledge.
이게 그 드니 고름 조금 용철때 저거는 자가 테스트비 다 시름도 뇌소 상로탄나 더 다 이기르 잔다나 르네 잔거던 그 셈라 제탑고 삼가 치레제나 당선 다 지수롭자 치문나나 양아 추고 그 송추 덤바 몽 회리냥 몽 요인제 대신도는 나다리 저크 몽 송아 티나나요 정통 칸차가나나 친 통친시다나 덤바 몽인데 레탄 또 다리 알라원 잠저레 알라원 티 나나요니 난둔도 나추 다리가 로미 셈거 길라 다리 판도나 알라원 때 다리 전탕담 담바저레 가르티 알라원 건 그 시초도 지금 덕종 시에나야나 띠돈데 나추 머럽디 못함체 그 세마 달룬 마탑지 잔지 있나 딱때 무르지 잔즈다 그 캬브르메 바타버리 따띠나 인치민지 나추이나 그 디 상로 강롱즈 있나 자가 디 히럽 강롱즈도 랑거 질라라고 등이 할레티 그 거침보드레 삼고요.
I understand that the wisdom of translation, when you have this experience of translation, then you realize that you learn so the wisdom of others or other cultures through translation, and that gives that becomes that very effective mode of communication. Otherwise, we do have, if we go around, for instance, around in Europe and around here, you have great scriptures and old texts on display, which I think is very important to preserve these Dharmic texts so well. But I think the most important thing is not to have it on display or in a museum or something. The most important is to get to learn what is within it, what's inside it. And that learning, that to be able to learn what's hidden within a scripture comes through translation.
당선가 내급나였나? 그 харныб 다 네처 저도 화장 첨보라와 다링이 공도샤바리 드니 차킨 화장 두고서거니 차킨 화장 가르쳐대로이나 차차르 모요사레 다 가르쳐대로는 주 보이르나 있나 자가 사자강나 있나 레뇨르고나 레이고건 말에 드니 레 녹강라고 뇨산나 초그레 레타나 델라테니 맞춘 조아 말라 양 떼잠고 데치 다리 떼 탑고요 말에 양 샘는 거 욕자다 샘는 거 난데 가르쳐대라 지망스 조고지 뒤로 묵스라서 그거
As I said earlier, both in the east and west, there has been many dramatic changes has been taking place. With it, there's also many opportunities, many facilities in terms of material facilities. There's quite a diverse and plentiful of it. And even if we think of inside Tibet, if you want a certain kind of clothing or material, one gets to get all kinds of a diverse form of material in terms of clothing. But with these facilities, there's a discomfort, there's an unease of the mind comes with it. So not necessarily that we're mentally in a happy status.
다 데이터가 되었대라양 아주 워기 나왔던 제기원도 카르선테랑 드네 카르쇼크마이 난자 너쇼크마이 난자 드네 뭐카 참말라 판바 토저코나 깐르다 인나야 조 지금 셈급 쇼다나 대전도 아주 등어그 쇼나 뭐모즈가 그 판도고연제 캬버등 인군이나 드네 단도 쇼크 지금 유럽고 쇼크 미 셈컴 당네서 자가 nga charji tezem metana tar yanok ko shogdana tene tare asia ko shog mo momboz ko tene semna ga chi dingurun radang monja momboz ko ta one jane ko chi nawa sanji pichu khabarda yang chi wogin nangtan da ta rigbi hajang tak ji jan zgen na te tak zoba dana chanrik chirtar tak ji jan zgen na tela nupa me pazada ta nga chu ranga khapshi zamz maim ba gane tung hongutok rachud yong 대등 잡아찬 드네 지 따때 릉거 지 셈라 서라 냠슬랭기 잔지나 무모즈 그 리당 셈거 등을 다리 셈조시즈레 따때이나 지 닝군이나 미 총총즈 그 삼바 침보즈 종에다나 지 끙따리양나 딴더 초머르가 장가 다리 까토아 저르니나 드네 지 거기나 야나 거간도 초 다리가 다 지 스카릭 침보다나 머르 모원즈레 테름기 마원을 끝나다 다 인지 라속 봤더니 다 멍멍보즈가 판 톡시치였었니 그 ರಂ기 지 다 삼스는 로티모레 막도제면 네 지 저리야다 지 총거 제다나 되니 지 냔작가 제다나 점슨 잔다 무기르잔 쯤요 말에
and Tibetan Buddhism, and in this sort of age of plentiful material, plentiful and mental unease, Tibetan Buddhism seems to be quite beneficial to mind as well as to alleviate suffering. I can't say that in the West, and of course I can say it helps everyone. I can say that, and also in terms of the West, I don't have that much experience. But in terms of Asia, I have a certain degree of experience, and I can say that it really does help people alleviate certain mental stress and deal with their life problems. And also, when we look at Buddhism, especially Tibetan Buddhism, it is not something that cannot be questioned. It is a religion, a philosophy that can subject to analytical reasoning, that can be subject to critical questioning, and through this critical questioning, analytical reasoning, and we seems to be finding that a beneficial aspect of Tibetan Buddhism. And this is why I undertake translations. I'm a small person, but with a big ideal, thinking that if I get to translate, get to communicate, convey these messages, it would benefit people. And especially if I could translate this into other languages, especially I translate it into the Chinese language, and Chinese is spoken by a large population and by lots of peoples in a way. So that's why my intention to translate, to undertake Chinese translations is for this reason. And maybe through Chinese translations, it could be translated into English language and so on and so forth. It is through this intention to benefit others and to convey the other benefiting effect and impact of Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. This is my intention. And otherwise, of course, it's not a financial gain, it's not my intention, or reputation is not my intention.
네, 쇼치가 완도시는 아주 보크 가익다나. 르그닌도 소인나 하장 랑깅 산노타나 로몽즈가 로종시기 고름초타나 단더 지 치ren당 납자라즈레. 당상 결급 몽고나 드니 응우제 샹톤 강속수 이로나 당문이 지 쿠낭돈도 고송이나 다 텔레 캬브람 파바리 삼기 어때요 다 옛날에 아주 워크도 워익도 지금 머르 뇽뇽즈다나 다총 쉣고니나 때 다리가 탑간 찌타네야나 깔리 커보요 사즈레 때 있나 가티 때 머르 다 총총 그간다 지금 머르 쳔보즈 그까토가 저스토인지 있니나 남지근 이렇게는 수 머르 그까당 이겐도 수 냠ጆ지 있나 니 난돈 포좀 소반도 때네 머르 아장 그까토나 요네야 로암 저쪽 네가 var다 텔라 판바요 저래고 산네 되니 저충 가래다 좀충 가래가나 되니 지 머르 심말라다리 판비치인 제 mam보셈용
and then I through learning immersing myself in Tibetan language and culture, I regarded Tibetan. Then I come to regard and consider Tibetan language and culture priceless, and I see the need to preserve it, to sort of communicate its values. And in the sort of exhibitions and galleries in the West, you see Tibetan Buddhist scriptures being preserved and in display. And I think it's amazing if the message is also being communicated. I think that would be of great significance. But I think when it comes to we regard Tibet, it's a minor. The population is very small. It's as a sort of minority, as a minor sort of nationality. It's very difficult to guarantee the preservation of one's culture. And then, if I translate it into the language of a major or of a big, a dominant nationality, I think the Tibetan wisdom and Tibetan culture will go on living in different languages. And this is why, one of my another intention, motivation to translate. And I also in my prefaces to my translations and my own works, I express my own intention, motivation, saying that even if it does not benefit this generation, a current generation, I say I hope it will, my translations and my work will benefit the generations to come, to the future generations.
다 마음 안 가서 르그네인도 tani yin rung wara ne thap ta mathap tani kangchi thanayang tari tokba kangar mangboz yo konre chire zena tandi tichu thong zgarana shir janglang gartangna khoirna ngama tani ngchu khabar dandimo lam ganena phansan tani tab damchung lamni tari ta kharsan tera amuksur kene kharnamniga ina jagan zambolong ma thamche kam rera shi kyor tab de bogo sonore 대전도는 다 코리크 르네 초탐치됐나 당선 가리게나 르네 잔게랑을 그자건데 다 졸릭 서지슨 쳤다나 만나 다리건데 당 수다리 짐처저 고난 자가 당럽 근처치게 디럽데 때니 기롱 다 당선 잠올은 코리크 탐쳤다 되니 가릭 쳔보 가릭 총총 탐쳤 말은 기름게 취기다나 머릭 쳔보단 야급 쳔보거니 되니 잠올은 것도 야급 다 총총데 소 탐쳤다 라라라 다리건 츠츠른 잠은 잠종게 라라 다리가 잠했다 동게 따띠라서 바거 뉴전 자당만 자즈다 되니 장사요 안사요 너리 뒤쪽 근결와다 문다 만자고 묵서 잔즈 터고디 나촐라 다리 샘크르 몸보즈 요거래
Therefore there is doubt and anxiety for us regarding the durability of Tibetan culture, the stability of Tibetan culture. We live in an age of internet and electronic communication technology, but still then we have the angle, the aspect of what some people call cultural imperialism, where we get to see these dominant major cultures assimilating and dominating minor cultures. And so with minor cultures and sort of also dominant nationalities once again showing their predominance over minor people, sort of national groupings or nationalities. And for this reason, there are, as we're concerned, there are anxieties.
다 배나 가상 대랑 그 디서야나 엔지 르갸급 그 사근 코릭 된자 침보즈 말에 모양 파르치르 답시진 적든 야르머 뭐 된자 몽보즈 말에 레다는 다 지송 그 스캇드 와인 그근 잠몰는 거 왜나가 조 남절란 그네나 되니 엔지 까도 되니 다 르갸급다 사차 하정 용식도 막 도제면 가상 아다리 그 요요더는데 대신도 니 르네다는 산로 너쇼고 다리 베나 로닌 다 지긴 나라는 단 잠몰는 거뭐 탐치 그 스타가 요네 다 디무고 디르즈 송원제 뜨인나 카르틴디 르갸중 그 카쇼 할에 지금 잠몰는 거뭐 탐치라 판바요는 지나 다 대양 다리가 용든 지요래 레다는 디다 몸통이 고도 아주 장는 거 지금 머르 냠총다나 대전더 까잉 냠총 치망보즈 되네 remji 단 직든 되네 바로스 다리 흔주건데
So, for example, if we look at Great Britain, it's in terms of territory, it's very small. In terms of population, it's very small. But its language is very powerful, influential, dominant. And in terms of its spread and predominance of its culture and language is huge. If a good film comes out, one needs to sort of, through itself, it illustrates and demonstrates the dominance of language and culture. So this, if maybe is something, there could also be, of course, benefiting things that happen, that has got sort of global beneficial effects. It might be, if that's the case, that is good. But also it has this negative impact where sort of weak or minor nationalities and languages gets totally overwhelmed.
당아 진등거 정통 강가래 송디 드네 이게 가래도 다 직된들 시차르바 이게 제이다는 값신 거던 것 팀업 지어지지래 다 남인다 템 통치론디 니 냥나라요 지금 조트메 비 나즈크 차즈크 초라 김보 디모즈듬 좋은 건데 그 또이나 다 초라 다 드이나 다리 대런드네 야나 치르나발라 거롱저거나 레지나 드네 마온르금나 드네 지금 머르기나 다 세나 거기나 참마거 쟈크마 참마거 쟈크마나 먼저가요 말다 있나요 맞추 잠불는 거 머르소 탐치 그 줄긴 가이 너소 니버장가나 중축고 타다 드네 시험바 탐치 그 ndala 수상록던 거지서 랩삼가 카르티 스카탄 이게다 잠불는 거다 머르 강롱즈 그 납송이나 데네 존테 담 개발남거 송마르다다 머르티가 다 책쪽 탐칫 보고 족송들이 챗송들이 데니 존테 단 직된 감디 머르게라 할레치 그 챗추다나 요던 요지잔지게나 틱줄긴데라 또 라나메피 데니 지 흥역죽 그 여스케르 요던 망보즈고 나야나 데니 존테 마춘주아미 시쿨리스탄가 다 람지테 vat송들이 다 데인정나 데니 참멘디 타다 수암록당 거고
It's good, of course, one can speak Chinese or English, whatever language, but I think, sorry, I've forgotten. Every time when I visit a museum or a gallery, sometimes I come across a display or a label saying extinct language. And that gives me a sharp pang in my sensibility, a huge sharp pang, and it really worries me. So, of course, if you speak Chinese or English, that's good, but my wish, my appeal to all of you is that to respect, to research, to work towards the preservation of languages and cultures of minor peoples, minor nationalities. I think this is vital. As great scholars say, once a people's language disappears, then the life force of that people vanishes. Then that people comes to an end. That civilization comes to an end. And I think this is really true. And what is happening is that when a language disappears, then with it we lose the wisdom and the beneficial effects and impacts of this culture accumulated over years, and that disappears and that vanishes with it and from this world. And therefore I would like to appeal all of you towards the preservation of languages and cultures of weak peoples, of weak nationalities, of minor nationalities all over the world.
Tonangi Tishtatsarda Mdursaradina Teni Natsu Jurjinganana Chi Chapper Chachudan Dambe Teni Rentangar Tawa Monsda Teni Gongshi Mons Yochundo Changme Zhongkyuptar Zhongshirgujida Teni Yang Chi Dansang Sarto Gurnabandayang Name Tamanjori Changme Ditada Zunshirgu. Tayinina Sarto Tachurjin Nikanda Tangri Garartardarnaya. Dongertanga Sartut Konada, Sarji Konala, Sound of Tangitina, Matsurjin of Sona, Namjika Nerkamna, the Roa Mazang, the Shinda Yang Chu Da Ringer Round Labi, then if Shepa Porta was in Giru Ninka Chimbore, then Tandani So Samsartela, then Jurjing Ringin the Chungchupka, Ramanji Stand, then Tari Tatermirchim done the shotne. Tene Tansanga, the Tsari Luxury in Nanjaga, Tarab Kurini, the Solatini, the Ganroama Ranga, Nalam Tela, Tam Pigi, Sumba Yachimbo, Shena Hajan Yabore Samkyo.
My idea, my thinking is this, that we make an effort to preserve what is valuable in traditions, in traditional knowledge that is accumulated over years, over thousands of years. These valuable things must be preserved, and an effort must be made. But of course, along with embracing the new, so tradition and innovation sometimes comes into conflict with each other, but not necessarily always conflictual. We must learn and preserve the wisdoms and the values and the priceless merits of the tradition, whilst embracing innovation, whilst embracing the knowledge of the new, for instance, science and technology, and all this, in embracing this in a way so that the path of humanity is progressive in such a way that it embraces this both of these aspects, both forces.
Tanim jigdo Taterang Chatso Wogid Nantan Zeonina, the Wogid Nantan of Samlo, the Dunda Ani. Nambala to the Jujig Serzergona, Nambala to the Yondis Jikin.
Finally, today's other theme is the Tibetan Buddhism, and I would like to just present two themes briefly to you as a suggestion, two themes touching Tibetan Buddhism.
Tangi Lopchatana, Flojung Korum Trotter Nipaziga, Wogid Nantonla, Tanu Maimbi, Kachus go Chirezena, Kapshit Tonardan, the injecting a ways going to Dedon Ravachanga, Su the Tenehuerdam Kebazginam, Kebati, Kani Cherter Shapajan, the Tun Rantok, Tate Nyamselenze. Matsunantung Captela, two some gum some zeki, tuba gumba sambazeki, yonje, Yana Dariga te, Kipson Zansum zidana, Ram Kiberger, Tene Dariga, Runga Kumshut, Yahazi, Zut Dariga, Janab Zung Shavaga, Jampang Shava Javan Zekionje. Division the stab gum show some zekiroda, Stavadam Gumba Shopa zekida, Dursravdina, Kibazgi Nezonte, Ranyang. 다림 케바디 람데 치이다 데니 그 잔라 판밥 접죠 단도 지 오늘 장에 그 당상 롭자 침보다는 대전도는 지 사천 가랭가리나 아다 카시크타카 할르지 그다리가 케바 침보다는 작천인 나라는 양 홍스 돈 락랭거 당다나 대전도는 샤와 랑거스나 거리치는데 양 지금 카시아나 막도제면 돈디 잠즈다 다 머신이 데모고야 네처 마우즈건제 대인나가 주어진 나던 그 뭐카창마가 카시 돈든 제르고나 강즈가 원보른바 자담만자 몸보 요레다 옛나요 슬락수 난둔데 tene ta gyachar gyade yana chamaz dana tene chi khatwa shat no do ton thwa dan da ton thwa dan no do jana dare phambab jup ju nimu lak so na don zu nge yin sam ge yo tene na chir na ba so na kharsang terang da dari ge tene sharnap ge ta jenye song tene shok gang tak ge na tene chi lamne na de chargi len go ne na jimjik shir go ne na chang dari tab de bore tene na namba su de yinda mang ka ta ge tene bo jin na tang ge lak su nang don te la chet yang na dari jimjik shi ju di re ba yin
through my own experience of studying Tibetan Buddhism, learning Tibetan Buddhism, one of the unique features of Tibetan Buddhism is what Tibetans say, kapshil donlarniwa, which is to practice what one preaches, to implement what one preaches, or to behave in the way that one preaches. And these are conveyed through what Tibetan Buddhism is teaching is not necessarily just rhetoric. It is something practical. It must be something that is implemented. Hence we will have phrases like tu samagum, which is learning and reflection and meditation. These three aspects of learning Tibetan Buddhism. And also we have Targum Htyulsum, again, view, Buddhist view, and meditation practice, meditative practice, and the Htyupa, and the conduct. They're all interrelated, and they're all implemented within this way. And then we will have another phrase called the Krypton Jansum, which is a practitioner must practice, must embrace Buddhist Tibetan Buddhism through learning, through disciplinary sanctity, through probity, that is, and then through the practice of kind-heartedness. And these are, so in the West, for instance, in the modern sort of academic environment, of course they're great teachers, with an amazing erudition, and great teachers who teach and who give incredible lectures. However, when it comes to practice, there seems to be an absence, a lack of practice between what one preaches and what one believes and what one practices. And when it comes to Tibetan Buddhism, this is vital. The link between what is taught, what is thought, and what is practiced is absolutely vital. Hence, kapshil donlarniwa, and what one must practice, what one preaches, and what one preaches must benefit others, must benefit other sentient beings. And this is a unique characteristic of Tibetan Buddhism. And my suggestion is that, my sort of appeal is that all of you are researchers, scholars, and investigating, some of you investigating Tibetan Buddhism and things, and maybe one might need to investigate if this is the case.
Tani ta tunda nibada tani nangchu go wojid nangtang go tamu mayimbi kyachudo tani janba to roa mo to jeba gurgi nanjaga tani raptu chungwa nanjaga te mayimba tana tundru yanchut go jang go tunchup gyo daga songonje dis zawate daga wojid nangtang go loksu go songonje 다 loksu de kane yongje zena tangsang zambo na lopcha cheshu chi ngashu tene hwar nalan chare tene hwar nalan chene chugye de ramji tene woyer ka tari ga ta lopcha cheshu ngashu zo dari sami manjer sami tani xigla kang tere ta tini rimba jin da ngachu gomba so la chege kirong tar gomba ina tangsang gari ga samlo tana chi gomba zeki da ta rangkar kamar go yawe ta na ta chawa cha me chang gari da nang ga chi ding ding na ma to zema na chi jang ga kyun so wan ji da kyun so ko sha ma jib ju chi ta lo to gari tangsang ngachu tari gan khoring gari na timo yokon da to ngune ga chi go je na tang ga ton la charji yodna da jimji yodna zuk se kirona timozuk tari son mare tazu jerna tagranga manga
The second unique feature of Tibetan Buddhism is but Buddhism practiced by laity or clergy is to benefit others and to work for the benefit of others, and this is the main objective. And this is the main aim and objective of the Buddhist monastic education system, which can be traced right back to Nalanda, the great Nalanda University in India, which is regarded as the oldest university in the world. And from Nalanda, the tradition was transmitted to Tibet, to Sami Monastery, the earliest monastery in Tibet. And from Sami Monastery, it spread to other monastic institutions all over Tibet. So some of us, and some people are saying, might be thinking that Tibetan monastic institutions are just there where some shaven-head monks just sit inside and do some religious practice. And it seems to be sort of a there's the link between society and the monastic institutions are broken, but this is really not the case. If you look at the true sort of objective of it, is that to benefit others.
Gare sanlo khorna gomba se kit chi ranga yara chi sonde she cha dana devjin dana chi chodmin chodcha ga chi timu khoriga sanlo tang ga ga ta te gombi chashi nyongshi sere zu da re gomba zeng de gyon de den laksu ga rawaz da laksu khorig zu chen to wonje te inna nga chu wo ji nang tong gam tar tik gam yer de ta changma ga lisim la da re phambar te jo de yen Hoirna zu karsan deram larung garki inna tene ji ta shiung ga tsad yara kchi zig da tim tombo tone kirondi tene yairi inna ja woyiri inna ja ga safsha soso songa kirong tene ji rang chet rang ji yerze da rang top nga thang da na ji chan nya chang nimo tamchina 돈도 많이 밀고네 tene changma la tari ga tene loch shi ki dana changma la tari rokchur shi ki wo ndo karsan deram ngachu 다 출고 로종은 타바 친구 출고 되는데 인디 냠치 타르득 받는데 손제 근데 허나 닝원이 있나 다 말로 때네 토머 로종 시바가 ngu존에 따가버 다 파르칠 다리거 데간데네 말로 섬친르지레 니나 지금 상록당지 와야 타연 샤워 접죠 야 타연 단 니초도 지 강ar다나 지 대진다나 지 가츠 자다만 좀 찾느리다 옛나요는 또 지금 뭐세가 나나 찾막지지 말에 강스다리 맞수 지 아잔라다리 판밥 좀나 너지 하장 가르쳐와더래 뛰는 거요는 지 무수 라슌군 코리스가 지 쳇도 엄게 다나 때라 지 딱필 잠즈다 로종 좀 마임 바가 가선다나 잠보는 것다나 뭐뭐즈 그 리심라 그 가르니 하장 최고디데 단 내라 다리가 판바주기 샤워 죽고요 점니 뜬게 어느 지금 랑거 초르나 잠라요 지금 다 야침보 zirgona 까모레다나 야 지금 차 니진 zik었던 거네 뭐뭐 zik어나 리심나 지금 여러 야침보 좀 정담 좀 말해
and the monastic education system, we might think that some people might think that it is just for saying prayers and undertaking pujas and lighting butter lamps. But this is some of the aspects, but it is not, these are not the main aspects of a monastic institution. The main aspect of a monastic institution, the main feature, the main function is that it is an educational environment. It is an educational environment in which it instills the intention to benefit others, to help others. And this is the main fundamental aim of the monastic education system. For instance, in Larungar, also when students finish their learning and go and venture outside, go to other places to teach, the main thing is that not out of self-interest they teach. Try to teach with the intention to help others or to make other people learn, not out of self-interest, an interest for material gain or an interest for one's reputation. This is not the main intention. And for myself, I have been a monk and studying in my own Larungar institution for now 30 years. And over these 30 years, one came across, of course, faced hardships in life and encountered all sorts of challenges in life. But that happens, that's nature, way of life. But what I was motivated by is the intention to benefit others. And so this is, in terms of Tibetan monastic institution, the intention, the motivation to benefit others is of paramount importance. And this applies not only just for monastic institutions. This, of course, applies when it comes to global beings, all over people or human beings all over the world. When I came to the West and everything, is the intention to benefit other human beings, both mentally and physically.
하더니 지도 스카치지요. 제 스카치지도 처리잖아. 맞소 무스단 쓰였나. 소유 기름 그초도. 더니 지 당레 다 지금 대치근 소화라 저티야 요지. 당레 약가드금 창라 특디야 요지. 강스타리용나 ರಂ거 지 시럽라 때네다나 그 맞세는 그 강다 강차장나 때 니버도 기드고비 비름즈긴디 ರಂ기 탐케다 시럽라 때네 때 람치리와 다디 람치리 쉐르데 조지 강아 특나야는 점바 침부 머시 셈때 하루 데모르키보다 셈이는데 그냥 소보 왁 페바 데스타비 응한다 조지긴나 지 당선거 있나 자가 맞세는 거 지 샤와 강 있나 지 쳇도 지그랑아 지 물린 맞다바다나 돈에 맞다바지 침보도 요 말에 되는 아주 다 오get나타나 지 냠렌지 기스고너레티 추데 냠는 somno 못한데 되니 남식간에 깜나 지 샤와 강아 특나양나 띠 등근은 그 소라 요요너레다 요나야나 소라 덴지 잡고 매되나 지 강타령 샤완데 조 탐치다나 되니 시럽다르단 비고 랑도르시 지 니바다르단 바스다 저지요너레네 덴디 참아 결남바였나 되니 너르지그 참아라 되니 다리금 지도 리심 다가 데모 용화다나 리심 데탕 용위 다가 문던지기엔 가전치
lastly for all of us in the journey of our life one comes across periods of hardship, one comes across period of happiness, of course we all experience this, but to deal with these experiences, especially the challenging phases of one's life, we have certain wisdoms and methods. And this wisdom, in terms of Tibetan Buddhism, and this wisdom is that to have a relaxed mind, to have an open, easy mind, to be able to embrace challenges in life. So to take it easy, maybe that's translator's input, but we have this wisdom that is gained through what Tibetans call nyamlin, experiential practice of Dharma. And so lastly and finally, I would like to, and through this sort of method of wisdom that brings relaxation, openness, and a sort of equilibrium to one's mind. So lastly, I would like to wish you all a sort of relaxed and a happy mind and body. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kambal, for that wonderful talk. It was really very inspiring to hear about the process and the duration of your life, which has spanned so many amazing experiences.